this morning in Lippincott's office in New York. You have a very, very strong background in architecture and design. Tell us, how does this experience help you in your role at Lippincott?
Well, it's really understanding how to express a brand in the physical world. Right. It's translating the ideas of the company's values and personality into the tangible aspects of the world around you, and how that can be created into a more compelling experience for a company.
Right. And what about design? You have a very strong background.
My background is in 2D design, so visual identity. So my particular area of focus really is thinking out how we translate the qualities of the brand, the attributes of the brand that come out of the strategy development, and then think about that in visual form. So how does that infuse the idea of color and texture and pattern, visual identity elements, so that we're expressing these qualities that are important to the brand in a way that's visually compelling and exciting and dynamic and has all of the right attributes.
Right, and how does this all translate from business strategy into customer experience using all these design techniques you mentioned?
Well, all brand strategy has to be based on business strategy. So the idea is we have to begin with understanding of the audiences that's most important to us, and then looking at the various interactions that those audiences have with the brand, defining those touch points, analysing the touch points so we know which ones are the most important, what are the different ways that the customer or the employee interacts at those moments, and then how do we deliver on it, and what are the different business situations that come into play as well. So it's not just about communications, it's about operations, it's about the product, it's about the services that we offer. And by analysing that at each touch point, we can then sort of figure out how well we're delivering on it, and are there key areas where the experience can break down, where we can potentially lose customers or turn them off the brand.
Right.
Hopefully, if you create an experience that's very additive and the experience becomes better and builds over time, then eventually you're going to obviously be delivering customers who are most engaged with the brand, and therefore going to deliver on business strategy as well. Those goals will be achieved.
It's really important to think that an airline's brand and experience isn't just the cabin itself. Right. It goes way beyond that. It goes from the moment you start to consider the trip and you start to engage with the web, the moment you walk out of your house going towards the airport. All of that is the interrelationship between you and the brand of the airline. You spend a lot of time in the airport itself. In some cases, as much time in the airport and on the flight itself. Right. So the brand, the experience of the airline is much greater than that time just in the cabin. Right. A very important part of the experience, but not just that.
Right. Now, what in your regards, in your opinions, are some of the better airline brands, domestically as well as internationally?
Well, I think Delta Airlines, by far, has really understood the power of branding. When they were coming out of Chapter 11, they took that opportunity to announce their new commitment to their people, their customers, their brand, and with the new launch of the brand identity, the new brand experience internationally, and we think TACA is a very strong airline, a very small airline, but again, they understood the importance of how brand feeds into their goal of building a more iconic global airlines.
Interesting. Now, what is it that these airlines do right, which other airlines can learn from as well?
Well, I think they have looked at the total experience. They have put in place teams that cut across all aspects of the business, so that they don't just think about brand as being the communications experience, but they really engage people who deal with operations. They engage the in-flight service. They engage the product development as well. And by having again going back to the idea of sort of creating this customer experience map, where you've identified how each part of the business can deliver. You're talking about sort of creating more of an orchestrating an experience that involves much more of the business versus thinking about individual moments or thinking about these silos of the business.
Given that it's crisis times and it's difficult times, many of the airlines are actually struggling to survive, let alone brand themselves and think about alignment. how is it that these airlines, what is it that we can communicate to these airlines to show them the importance of branding? And is it actually important, or do we sustain our operations first?
Well, I think branding is not spending more money on top of the money you're already spending.
Yeah.
It's spending the money you have wisely and in a cohesive, organized,
Right.
well-communicated fashion. So in these times, it's more important than ever to focus on branding because everyone is going through hard times. So this is a point where you're going to have to really maintain, enhance, and confirm that relationship you have with your consumer.
Right.
If you've done the hard work originally of really identifying this total experience that the customer has, and you're able to prioritize what are the key moments that matter most, then that gives you some foundation to say this is where we need to, again, not add money into what we're spending, but just reshuffle.
Right.
Let's focus on this area. Here's some moments in the customer journey that are really not working for us,
Right.
and then focus on addressing those.
How is it that you achieved this employee training, employee cohesiveness at Delta, at TACA, in the projects that you worked?
Well, it's really creating a platform, again, seeing the employees as part of the touch points. It's making sure that you've communicated, educated, explained how the brand affects their job and how important. And it's also showing how it all comes together. You know, this emotional connection, we talk about the value of branding, is also with the employees. And people want to be part of something and be part of a vision. And the brand objectives are part of creating that vision that everyone can rally around, work together, and support each other.
Right, right. Now, one of the things that Delta has recently done is they've hired a senior executive from Disney to come help with their brand as well. Do you think it's necessary for airlines to hire brand specialists to run that, or is it's fine for us?
Absolutely.
I think any company should have a strong sensibility and someone there who is the brand champion. In some cases it might be the CEO for smaller companies, but for other companies it's important. There are a lot of people out there, a lot of organizations, a lot of silos, so it's important to have someone that can help make sure that the brand is being developed along with the operational sides of the business.
You've done some really good work in sensory branding, like sonic branding as well as smells and things like that. Do you think there's such application to airlines?
Sure. Airlines were pioneers in sensory branding. If we look back at Singapore Air, they were first to understand this idea of scent and sound and taste with their flight attendants having certain scent, cologne, perfume that also was reflected in the towels, the moist towels when you refreshed yourself. It is a way to further enhance the experience. There are times where just the visual isn't strong enough.
Right.
How about that time when you're in the jetway? You're lined up, there's a queue, those spaces are typically cold and unadorned.
Right.
There's an opportunity to use scent and sound to ease the customer's anxiety, enhance that experience, and let the customer know you've thought about that you are thinking about their journey from the moment you arrive to the moment you get to the other end.
Airlines in 2009, where do you see them going?
Well, you know, much greater focus in terms of what they're doing from an operational standpoint is absolutely going to be the case. I think also, you know, thinking about the customer, when customers are thinking about now taking that trip, when it's more of a leisure travel, for example, it's something that's coming out of my pocket. I'm going to be much more critical about what that experience is like, and I'm going to make sure that that the experience I have is one that really delivers. So the idea that the brand has to really be very focused now more than ever on what that experience is like, and understanding how they can shape and frame that experience is more important than ever, because customers are going to not only be more critical of you, but there's also an opportunity for you to get customers who will choose to fly you who maybe wouldn't have in the past. So there's an opportunity to maybe sort of pull in some people who have been sort of outside of your